He came back and he told me that they did not get a good margin of tissue, so we had to go back in. He said, well, before we go back in, we'll discuss whether we're going to do another lumpectomy, or whether or not we're going to do a mastectomy, or we're just not going to do nothing about it.
Now, what is the difference? Can you explain us the difference?
Well, a lumpectomy is when, what they did on me first is when they went in and they took what they thought was a good margin of tissue from my breast. In fact, they cut my breast off. Okay. Like less than half of it was gone. Okay. And this was a outpatient procedure. Went home that same day. Bled, had to go back to the hospital that night. Oh, yeah. And when that healed, they decided, you know, when they did the biopsy and everything, they saw that they did not get a good margin of tissue. They had to go back in, and that's when he gave me the news that it was infiltrated, that it had spread it out like little spider veins. Yes. So my husband and I had already discussed, but first of all, I must say that before all of this, before the word cancer came out of my doctor's mouth, I had went to our prayer tower and I prayed and I asked God not to let me faint in spirit, Amen. Not to let me faint in body and mind. Yes. And that's what he did. Because when I went back and the doctor told me that it was a cancer, I folded my arms, I crossed my legs, and I said, what are we going to do? And that's when he told me what we were going to do. So my husband Wayne, he was just sitting back there crying behind me. And I didn't know the little fellow was crying. I did not have no idea that he was crying, because now I have to listen to what this doctor is telling me. Yes. And Wayne always goes to my doctor's appointment. We've been doing this for 31 years with one another. We go to each other's doctor's appointments, and I didn't know he was crying because he was behind me. And the nurse Penny, she wanted to give him some tissue, but she didn't want to interrupt the flow that the doctor and I had going. Right. So when he said, well, Miss Jordan, we've done the lumpectomy, what are we going to do now? Wayne and I had already decided that we were going to do the mastectomy. We were going to take the breast off because it was offending my body. Yes. So we decided to do that, and once the doctor and I got through talking about the procedure, I turned and I asked Wayne, I said, sweetie, I said, what's the matter with you? He's sitting back there with them two little tomatoes in his face called eyes. And she was able to hand him the tissue. He said, Pig, I'm all right. I said, no, Wayne. I said, what's the matter? He said, Pig, the doctor just told you had cancer. And I said, it's okay, Wayne. It's not time to cry. It's time to fight. Right. It is time to fight.
Because when people hear the word cancer, they're afraid
it's a death sentence. Yes. But it's not. I'm here to tell you that it's not. I'm a 9-year survivor. 9 years? 9-year survivor of breast cancer. And it is not a death threat. It don't scare me whatsoever. In fact, I tell the devil, what you got up your sleeve, nigga? Come on, bring it with you. Because not only do I wear pink, but I give out pink slips.
Yes, yes. That's all right.
Pink slips. So we went ahead and we did the mastectomy. We did the mastectomy on November the 10th of 2000. I had already joined this breast cancer group called Sisters Network of Northeast Florida, the African American Survivorship Group, and I had joined them. They had given me a lot of information about what I was going to go through and everything. So on the 10th of November, I had the breast removed. On the 17th of November, they had a Thanksgiving dinner. I was there. Me and my youngest daughter, Kristen, we were there. I had 2 tubes hanging from my side, from the wound that I had taken off my breast. But they were so neatly tucked into my...
Nobody didn't know.
Into my leather pants, because I'm a whippersnapper.
What about you, Sister Griffin?
Well, my situation was a little different than Lena's. Actually, I had gone into for my annual mammogram, and a week later I got a call, and they told me that I needed to have a diagnostic mammogram because they saw something on the x-ray that wasn't there the previous year. So I went in and I had the diagnostic mammogram, and the nurse, she, after the mammogram, she came up to me and she was looking so sad, and she was saying that, you know, everything's going to be all right. And when I looked at the x-ray, I could see the lump myself. But I told her, I said, yeah, I am going to be all right because God's got this.
That's right.
Amen. So when I had the appointment with the surgeon, he originally told me that he didn't think that the lump was cancerous, but it was right before the Thanksgiving holiday, and he said that, you know, we'll go ahead and do a needle biopsy in his office just to clear my mind. But when the needle went into the lump, it was a hard mass. My sister had been diagnosed with breast cancer in 2001, and this was 2003 when I was diagnosed. So I knew that a hard lump was not a good sign. And so a few days later, the doctor called me at my office, and he told me that the lump was cancerous. And I tell you, I wasn't as calm as Lena.
Yes.
I wanted to get up and run around that building screaming. But as soon as I had that thought, the Holy Spirit grabbed my mind and put me in a stable mind.
Yes.
And I did those things I needed to do. I called my husband, I gave him the news. I called my sisters, and I gave them the news.
And the doctor diagnosed you?
I was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer. Cancers are staged from 0 to 4. When it's stage 4 or 3, it means that the cancer has moved to other organs in the body. So a stage 1 diagnosis was a very good diagnosis. The cancer was contained in the breast, and when I had the lumpectomy, which is a partial removal of the breast, they take out your lymph nodes, and all of my lymph nodes were clean. I didn't have any cancer in the lymph nodes. So from a medical standpoint, I had a good diagnosis. But to your point earlier, whenever you hear the word cancer, you know, cancer generates fear.
Yes, yes it does.
And throughout my whole ordeal, and even after, at this point I'm a